So you either use this pattern, the full pattern, the whole thing, or you use the cut up one. Looks like this. So that way you're able to see what goes where. You're gonna need beads, some glue, either a beading needle, you might need a Glover needle depending on how you want to do the sewing part, some scissors, some pliers. I have this kind of thread for beading. Oop, hold up the pattern again. Yes, this is the original one, the full one piece. So if you're doing one solid color of sealskin, this is the one you're going to use. And then if you're doing two-toned, it's this one plus this one that goes on top. And this tells you where you're going to sew them together. So what I've done so far is I have my piece number one, which is this one. And then I have to now cut out this one. And the way I've done these earrings is that the two colors cross each other. So when the gray sealskin is going that way and the red sealskin is going that way, so that you have this sort of 3D effect in the fur.
Alexa, what do you cut your sealskin with?
One of these guys, like a fancy box cutter.
And do you push hard? Is it light?
When you're cutting up your sealskin, let me show you how to do this. You got to be very, very patient. You don't want to accidentally cut the fur itself, because what's going to happen, this is my mistake piece. You'll see right along the edge, it lost fur because I cut it too quickly and too hard. So when you're cutting, you want to take your time, hold it as taut as possible. So I have my pattern here, this way. Can we see it? Yes. And it's following the fur. So sometimes you want to like double or triple check. When you draw it out, and you want to make sure it's the right way. And when you're ready to cut, you want to hold it as tight as possible, as taut. So what I do is I'll have my sharp blade pointed down. I'll hold on with, press down on one side, and then pull a little on the side that I'm going to start cutting on. And to do that, I start following the lines, and I do this very delicately. I don't want to cut my fur. So you take your time. It might take a couple times before you get through, and that's okay. We don't want to ruin some perfectly good sealskin. So there we go. And then when you're cutting and you feel yourself go through, don't push down like that. Have it pointed down, because that's what you're going to end up cutting it. So hold it as sideways as you can. So instead of going in like that, you want to go like that. So let me just cut out this piece. And when it starts getting loose, just move yourself a little closer to where you're cutting, and it's going to keep it tight, not loose. And if you think there's a spot you weren't able to cut through, just go back. You just want to take it nice and slow. Like, I know that I didn't get the corner here, so I'm going to go back. I find this part is the most time consuming when making these earrings because you want to be careful. All right, I'm through there, I'm through there. Yeah, scissors do work, but what happens with scissors is you cut the fur off where you don't want to cut it off.
I have a question, Alexa.
Yes.
Where do you place the pattern to save?
To save
as much. Yeah.
To save as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
You want to get as close to, like if I look at this, I want to get as close to this edge as possible. So on the side where the fur is going, I want to get as close as I can to that. But because I had made a mistake yesterday when I had started making the other side to show you guys what to expect, I had to go back and redo it. But yeah, as close as you can to the edge while still having enough space to be able to cut it properly without mingling it. And I had the wonderful idea of seeing butterflies at the same time. So reuse this pattern if you want. Make yourself a pair of butterfly earrings. I think that's a pretty great idea.
Sorry, I have one other question.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I, which way is the fur going again?
When you draw your pattern,
yeah,
the tips, hold on, where's, this one. When you're drawing your pattern, these two sides, you want the fur to be leaving up from there.
Oh, okay, cool.
Make sense? So just double check before you start cutting, when you put it on,
okay,
that your fur is going the way you want it to go.
Yeah. And Alexa?
Yes.
For the middle piece,
Mm-hmm.
it's the point that goes with the fur?
It's not gonna be the point that goes with the fur if you're doing two-toned.
Okay.
You're gonna see that there's a more rounder side that goes outwards, and then this side that goes inwards more.
Yeah.
The side that goes inwards more should have the fur pointing upwards. So, well, that one's my not so good piece. But yes, when you put them on, basically, when you are ready to sew them together, the fur is going to mesh like that. Like that. If you can see that. Can I get it to focus?
So basically they're in opposite directions when you cut the pattern, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly, which is great. I don't know how to, I try to be a good teacher. But yes, you want them to be going against each other. But if you're doing it in one tone, that's fine. If you only have one color or one piece of sealskin, you just want to be nice and careful. Double and triple check.
Yeah.
You can, even while you're cutting, you can check to see if it's coming apart the way you want to. Like right now I have a cut here and I have a cut here, and it's still stuck where the middle part is. So this part. And that part I tend to go the opposite way. So instead of properly cutting this way, I'll just turn it around for a quick nip at the top, if you will, to make sure that it separates.
Oh my goodness.
It looks like we're using colors of sealskin. I sent out some kind of fuchsia colored Toronto mute. Yay! I hope
We
like
sent out red and gray, if I remember right, for the workshop.
Yes, we did.
Mm-hmm.
My X-Acto is not sharp.
If you ever find yourself in a Michael's or Omar de Serre, a crafting store, they likely have these kinds. These are the Fiskars cutter. The only thing is they don't come with a replacement blade, which kind of sucks.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi, Allison.
I kind of joined late and I remembered, oh yeah, my project. So I'm like gathering my stuff and I actually found an X-Acto knife and not the one I normally use, but nonetheless, I will work.
You can use
Alexa,
things like scissors if you want.
I have scissors too.
Alexa and I were using a fur cutting knife the other day.
It was
And it was
beautiful.
the sharpest ever. But not so great if you're trying to be delicate.
Mm-hmm.
A what knife?
Fur cutting knife. We ordered it with our sealskin and they're very, very, very sharp cutters.
A Sue.
Yeah, but so sharp that we went all the way through and cut the fur and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Fur?
only not so good thing about that fur cutter.
Yeah, it's too good.
Yes. Okay, so I have my second piece cut because I already have the first one done. Here you can see that some of the fur wants to come off. There's a whole bunch on my beading mat right here. But that's fine. We're not too mad about that because we're gonna cover it up with some beads, some leather, felt, whatever you want to use as a backing. So for mine, I have leather, red leather. You can use felt, you can use cardboard and cloth if you want. Anything that will stop the sealskin from warping. So, like you can see here, this is where I had sewn my gray piece to my red piece, and it's noticeable through the leather. But we don't really care about the back because this is what we're going to be seeing. And once you have those two pieces, you can either do your backing or cut out your centerpiece, like this one, and see if it, make sure that it fits in properly, because sometimes it doesn't. What's this? So I can tell that by pushing these two together that it's going to fit. And I'm going to get ready to sew this onto this. And I'll be using faux sinew and a Glover needle because I'm more comfortable with that. But you can use beading thread, like this kind, which is very strong and comfortable to work with. It's not likely to snap on you. You can also use Miyuki beading thread if you like. But yeah, whatever you're comfortable with, you can use those. So I'm just gonna tie up my sinew, my faux sinew.
So most of the Toronto mute should have one of the Glover needles that also works as a beading needle.
Mm-hmm.
Very small, so it might be tricky to, you know, thread the needle, but I hope it works out. And I'd love to hear feedback about the beading thread because we ordered a new kind.
A new kind.
Mm-hmm. There also was sinew in the package.
If you don't need that much of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just did a trick I learned before from this lady back home on how to tie sinew.
Oh, yeah.
You wrap it around your needle like this, and then you can. I tried this with beading thread. It doesn't work that well. And once it's wrapped around, you just grab it and you twirl the same number of times that you wrapped it around, and then you pull it through, and then you end up with a great little knot. Yay, like that.
Well,
Which is amazing, and I love them for teaching me that. So this is like the only really big sewing part. This is the only place where you might want to use a thimble, because sewing sealskin to sealskin is pretty tough. And just double check when you're sewing your other color onto your main color that it's the right way. So check that one side is pointed outwards when you cut it, and that one side is pointed inwards. It's concave, I think that's the word I'm looking for. And then line them up. And what I like to do is kind of squish the two sealskins together while holding on to the point. So I have my 2 points together. So one here, one there, and slide a finger in between so that the fur is out of the way. Like you want to push it out of the way so that you're able to see where it's being sewn. So nice and flat together. And if I'm going too fast, somebody stop me.
Do people have their pieces cut out?
I'm like way behind. I'm just cut out my little pattern, and then I'm like, okay, I have 2 colors, but I don't know which goes where.
Okay,
I only have 1 piece cut out.
that's fine.
I'm still cutting.
I'm trying to print my pattern.
For Allison, you have this pattern, right? The 2-piece one. Your top piece, I wish it would focus on what's written on it. It says piece 1 on it. And this fits right into the middle of this, like this. And the way I've cut it is so that the 2 furs cross each other here.
Oh.
So this one is going that way, and this one is going that way. So that you end up with, I have a tiny table and I'm not used to it. So you end up with this 3D part right here.
Alexa, can you put it a little bit closer? Like
Yeah.
put it right up there.
There we
Yeah.
Better? Okay. You can see that this fur on top is pointing down. Now this fur, the red one, is pointing up. And don't buy my nail polish. I've got new ones that arrived in the mail, so I tried them all.
I love that nail color. I feel like it matches your
Uh,
aesthetic.
When I cut, my edges always look nasty. They're like rough. And I always go back and like take scissors and just smooth out my edge so that they look nice and pretty when you're gonna put beads. But the beads should hide it. I'm just
yeah, that's
anal.
the thing with this kind of earring is that I realized only after that one side is a little longer than the other. So if you look at this closely, you can see that there's 3 black triangles and 3 red ones, and then on this side there's only 2. But I made that mistake, so I have to continue it onto my second side so that it looks like a pair and not like it won't look wrong when you look at them together. I'm going to trace out my leather for my backing while everybody else is, I don't know what everybody's doing, but I'll do that while I wait, if I can find it. And also, something that was told to me, whenever you're tracing leather, the side that you want to show, you don't draw on that side. So this is my shiny side, and this is the matte side, where it's kind of crumbly. I'm going to trace on this crumbly side instead of the shiny side because I want the shiny side to be showing. And you get as close to an edge as possible. So that we save material, and then if you have leftover material, you can just use a little to make yourself a thimble if you want, because leather's pretty great for sewing. I use mine a lot whenever I'm making mittens or gummicks, if I have the time. And I like to use a pen, not a marker when I'm tracing, because marker tends to bleed on leather and then transfer on to your other material. Whenever you touch it, and then it gets all over your hands, and that's not fun to deal with. And when you're tracing out, you want to make sure it doesn't move. That's something I should have mentioned first. Make sure it doesn't move. So a lot of the times it's just me moving my hands around to make sure I'm able to get everything and not move anything at the same time. It's a lot of hand waving, it feels like. Here we go. Oh, you can kind of see. See what I mean? As close as you can get to an edge. My bottom edge is flat, so that's what we're going for. So I'm not losing too much material.
Yeah, I always do that trick with my sealskin patterns or leather patterns as well, like when we were making slippers. But then sometimes I'll forget that there's like a right and a left side, and I'll accidentally trace out the wrong side. Like I'll have to flip it over, but I forget to, and then I like have too many mixed up patterns.
Yeah, I've done that with mittens so many times. And whenever it's like sealskin that I'm cutting for mittens and I realize I cut the same side twice, I get so annoyed and I'm just like, you were so close, buddy, so close. And whenever I have my leather ready, I like to double check that everything kind of fits. And there is a bit of, let me see, corner. Well, yeah, that looks fine. You shouldn't really be able to see the leather peeking out, but I know that on this side it will a little, because we're starting from this edge, this side, when we're putting it all together, and not on this side.
I have a question.
Yep.
So you're tracing the whole thing on the leather?
Mm-hmm. I
Okay.
use the piece that's in one, but if you only have this one, you can trace them on top of each other so that you trace the one side first like this, and then you take it off and you put the other one beside it to get the other side, the other part.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a-okay. Let me put that there. I'm done with that one. Here's not a good one. I'm trying to clear up my table a little because I have so many things on it. And now I'm ready for, where'd it go? Oh dear. Aha, here we go. This one and this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew my smaller piece to my big piece. And to do that, let me just double check. Whenever it's the first stitch, I like to start right in the middle instead of on the outside because you don't know if you're going to get the middle right. And this is like the most simplest stitch. So it's just in and out, but not sideways. It's in and out going over. So trying to get as close as possible. And I tend to hold on to the end of my thread here so that it's caught in the stitches and you don't deal with like loose thread all over the place.
Nice to see you, Glenn, joining us.
And if you ever catch fur in your stitches, it's fine. You can just scoop it out before you tighten your stitch. And it's gonna look a little weird when you finish stitching the two sides together because it's gonna be kind of like a little tent.
Alexa,
Yeah.
do you double string your string or just one?
I'm using sinew,
Okay.
so I don't double string at all. But if you're using beading thread, you could, but that tends to be really thick when it's when it's double threaded.
I'm using the one that was given to me in the package, so.
Then you could double thread it. You could be comfortable doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, anytime. I'm here to answer any and all questions you got.
My hands are so tired.
Are they cramping a little?
A little bit.
That's how you get good hands that can make some good things.
I have a question, Alexa.
Yes.
Where did you start? I just finished like cutting everything. Where do you start putting it together?
Right now I'm putting it together and I'm doing the sealskin part first. So I have my two pieces. I've already started sewing.
From like one of the sides?
Yeah, I double check. There's one side that's kind of bubbly.
Okay.
Curves inwards. The side that curves inwards you want to put on in the red part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
And then like my question was, where did you start putting it together? Like on the side here?
Oh,
The
no,
middle.
no. Right in the middle. You want to start in the middle and work your way out. So that way you don't either accidentally bring it too much on one side instead of the other, or end up with a gap here.
Okay.
You want to start right in the middle.
Thank you.
I'm trying to stay as close as I can to the camera so everybody can see. But I've got a little coffee table and a KitchenAid box in my way. When you finish, when you're at your last stitch on one side, what I like to do is go partly through like this. Let me try to show you. So my needle is stuck through, and then take the tail end, the one that's on the same side as where your needle is sticking out, and wrap it around a couple times, pull back, and then pull your needle through. Because then that gives you a good first knot. Let me try to see right here. And then you knot it off completely. Cut off that piece. And as you can see, it wants to stay that way. But to stitch on the other side, all you gotta do is bend the other side a little so that it matches. And when you're done, you'll be able to flatten it out completely. So I'm just gonna repeat what I just did, starting again in the middle, and working my way out.
Hi, Alexa.
Hi.
Do you have a preferred stitch when working with sealskin, like overlap or in and out, in and out? 'Cause there's different stitch. Maybe you could talk about that too.
Sure. The one that I use is kind of the overlapping one you were mentioning, especially for earrings, because going in and out, and when I say in and out, I mean going in this way and then in this way. And that usually creates a bump, like a kind of weird ledge, if you will, in earrings. So this one I prefer to just, it's a, can we get real close? It's just, like a spiral binder, if that helps. And if anything, I tend to work from right to left instead of left to right, because I like to see where I'm going with my stitches. And I want to know how much I have left to sew together. Hi, Ariel. Dog has joined the session.
Oh, Alexa, how long have you been working with Sealskin for?
I started working with Sealskin in 2014, 2015, I believe. So about 5 years.
What was the first thing you made
The
in
first thing I
Sealskin?
ever made that was these little child size, like toddler size gummies, sealskin boots.
Nice.
They were the first things I ever worked with. I was really proud of them. I never finished them though, which is kind of sad. They're gonna be so pretty. But when I started working with them, I was getting ready to leave my community to come down to Montreal for school. I'm pretty sure I left them with a cousin and said, listen, if you can finish these, they're yours.
Who taught you?
Um,
Or where did you learn?
I started learning mostly from my aunts and from the women in my community. They were kind of like the teachers that I needed to tell me how to do things like soften your sealskin and how to trace everything and how to cut everything. And yeah, it's like I'm kind of sad I didn't get to stay, but I came down to get an education and to be able to pursue my passion, which was cooking. And I want to have my own restaurant one day. So yeah, so that's kind of how me working with sealskin started. And this earring pattern actually came to me last year during a wellness meeting thing that SQIA holds. And I always saw these beautiful beaded tulips made by other Indigenous people in Canada and in the US. And I was just like, you know what? They're so pretty. I love the way it's shaped. And I made myself a pattern, even though it's not the exact same as a pair of those beaded earrings, beaded tulips, because those are fully beaded, and this I think is better.
Sealskin, we love it. You also make other fantastic earrings.
Yes, I do. I really like they're the ones that are kind of sewn onto a material. All the beads are sewn onto a material. And you go around and around and around while creating a pattern. And those are like the post earrings that most, you see the most from non-Inuit, like Allaks make them. And they're always so gorgeous. But I started out beading last year. I had my cousin teach me how to make long dangling earrings, the ones with the fringe, last April, if I remember right. So this to me is still a very new thing.
Oh, wow. Is there anybody else who works with sealskin on a pretty regular basis? You, Glenn, Allison? I don't think I actually see everybody when I'm talking. Oh, now I see everyone. Glenn, you want to, or anyone want to tell us about their craft?
I do. I make all sorts of jewelry, ranging from earrings and bracelets. I'm actually thinking of making a purse since I got a pattern for a purse. So I like to work with sealskin just because I actually got interested in promoting sealskin, which got me started into making jewelry. And I did it as an art form to express more artistic side of me. And I began to really enjoy it. And it's a material that I find fun to work with, but delicate to work with. I think that's why I like to work with it and make jewelry with it. Like I said, I'm going from jewelry making to making other things bigger to see, because now I can work with sealskin a lot better. It's only been 2 years since I've been working with sealskin, and that's about it. I think wearing it, eating seal and wearing it is a very good commodity to have.
We have a question from Nikita, and that's, where does everyone purchase or obtain their sealskin from? I get mine from 3 different places. One is Cuir Boiler here in Montreal, I think it's in the Boisbriand area. There's also Gaston-Henri Furs. They're located outside of Quebec City, and they're able to like mail you sealskin, which is great, and they're really good quality. And there's also Splendor Furs here in Montreal that are located, if I remember right, in the east, somewhere in the east end of the island.
I know some people out in Labrador said they were getting it from Terry's tent.
Terry's tents, yeah. That's where I get mine. He has harp seal, so I don't think he has ring seal. He might, but normally he has the commercially tanned harp seal.
Difference between harp and ring seal?
Harp seal is like the really smooth, really shiny. Ring seal has more like little rings in the, and it's a little bit coarser fur. It's a little bit more durable.
This one's harp, right?
Or ring seal for their jewelry?
Yeah, that looks like harp.
This one's, and it's like almost shorter, and the
the hairs are shorter.
This one's actually ring, but you don't see the rings. I could get a bigger piece so you could see the rings, but it's longer.
Yeah, the fur is longer.
I also get some of my fur from my local hunter support whenever they have any. So every time I go back home, I go and have a look. And those are usually ring seal that are not commercially tanned. So that means I have to do the whole softening and stretching and making sure that it's ready to go whenever whenever I need to sew. So sometimes your community does have sealskin. You just have to call them and be like, "Hi, you got any leftovers? You got any sealskin?"
That one's ringed.
That's another thing I forgot to mention. I buy sealskin from Splendor, but I like to work with scraps. Scraps are perfect parts to work with, especially when you make things like jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
Practice with scraps than you do with the whole sealskin.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking, so I don't have to purchase a whole pelt because I'm new to this and I wouldn't know if I would be using the whole thing. So scraps would be preferred. I'm gonna have to network in Ottawa and find some, hopefully around.
If you ask some of the ladies who make mittens and slippers and that sort of thing, they usually have scraps that they'll sell you by the bag.
Yeah, the last place I know of that did that was Nunavut Creations. Before they closed down, every springtime they had like a sale of scraps where you can go and buy a bag or two of scraps and you have so much to work with.
So Alexa, do these look right?
Yes, they do. They look the way they're supposed to. That's amazing.
Excellent.
Oh my God, you guys are so fast. I feel so slow.
I make mittens and slippers and gummicks, and I do a lot of seal work, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I feel better for being very slow.
I have a pair of slippers that I've been refusing to work on because I got frustrated with.
So Joyce, share what you make, what you work with.
Well, I've made let's see, I've made a purse for my daughter and a pair of gummicks for my daughter for Christmas. I made rabbit fur gummicks for her. I made sealskin ones for her and myself. This is my work in progress.
Wow.
So I have fox to go around here. And I make slippers. I make little kids slippers and mittens and gummicks. And I make anything that I can make with any kind of fabric, I make with seal. I make jewelry. Yeah, just anything at all.
That's a great thing about seal. It's very versatile. You can do anything with them, really.
I don't know if any of you guys know where I can buy some seal leather. I used to be able to get it around here, but they're not making it anymore. So the seal leather actually looks like this. Wait, now I'll get it turned out. So it's this actual seal pelt with no fur on it. That's the boot, and that's the, I don't know if you can see it.
I have no idea where you can get those. I know that the women in my community they work on tanning the really big seal. Uchualo, I don't know what they are in English or in French.
Walrus.
Elka.
Harp? No.
No, the really big fat seal.
Leopard seal?
Yeah, no, we don't have leopard seals, I think.
We can pretend we do.
It's the bearded seal.
Maybe bearded seal.
Yeah, bearded.
Yeah.
Bearded seal.
And it's called a lassie.
Uh,
A young bearded seal is called a lassie. In Inuit, it's utjuasu. In Nunavut, it is. And the adults are square flipper. And in Inuit, the adult is utjuk in Nunavut. I know it means something different in Nunavut.
Oops.
Yeah, you stopped me.
Yeah, utjuk.
And I was like, whoa.
A bearded seal. That one, I know that the women back home, every time they start tanning it for like really good waterproof gummicks, it is so stinky. It smells so bad. Because I had been inside they had started doing that process inside the sewing center, and it really felt like there was some kind of like vinegary kind of, it was stinky. I left as soon as I possibly could. Yeah, once your two sides are done, you can start gluing them down to your leather. And you want to stick to the middle part. So in this area and here. You don't want to get too close to the edges because that's where you're going to be doing your beading. And if there's glue, it's going to be really hard to puncture it, to get through.
Walking into a clothing store is a completely different experience for me now. It's amazing. I'm learning how great most not just any grain, but fine grain. This is not
I like to use E6000 glue, and I have industrial strength adhesive. That's what it's called.
Yes.
And I use that because I know that I have enough time to manipulate it to get into where I want it to be. Unlike super glue, or I think contact cement is about the same. But this smells really strong, so you want to like have a window open.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can I also use fabric glue?
Yes, you can. Just enough that I can spread it around a little with the tip. I'm trying to do this at the same time. I squeeze a little and then I let it do its job. It'll squeeze out on its own after a tiniest amount of pressure. And then I want to scribble it out a little. Put that down, close this. And then I line up my leather to my sealskin, and then I'm gonna press down. Want to make sure everything is equal. You want to leave it alone for a bit so that it can solidify its glue. And if you notice a bit of leather peeking out, you can just trim it off once the glue has dried. I'm gonna leave this alone for a bit. My glue is on. And everything. And I'm noticing right away that I have a bit of extra leather right in this corner. And that part I'm going to cut off with a pair of scissors very, very delicately. We're all good, it's all on. And I also have a bit of extra leather on this side too. You can see it. Ooh, let me get closer. Can't really tell when the fur in the way, but we still want to cut off a bit to make sure that when we're beading, that the leather doesn't get in the way and then cover part of the sealskin. Oh my goodness, I need a vacuum. Let me start with, I'm gonna cut off my excess leather. Okay, that's good. I just have this part. There we go. Okay. Didn't lose any fur, and it's now flush with the sealskin. And when you're ready to start beading, you're gonna need a piece of your beading thread about a wingspan's length. So you want to take your thread, basically, hold it between your thumb and your fourth pointer finger and pull out one side and then pull out the other side of your arm so that you get a wingspan's length. And whenever I thread my needle, I typically leave out, I'd say this is about 8 inches of my thread. So that way I have my whole thread, my big guy, and I have a little tail. And I don't tie a knot in this one because we're gonna lock it in when we start beading. And if I follow what I started with a black bead, one black delica bead. Let me try to. I started with one right at the bottom. And what's going to happen is this first layer is going to be really hard to bead through because you're beading through your sealskin, and for me it's leather, for you it could be felt, cloth, cardboard, whatever. So use a ticket, use your thimble, and if you want backup just in case, a little pair of pliers helps too. And then if everybody's ready, I'm gonna do my first one and my first bead, and I'll show you how it goes. I started with a black one, so I'll grab a black one. I don't go all the way through. I have exactly one bead on. I start in one corner, and I'm just gonna push my needle through both sealskin and leather. And this part is really hard. I find it hard. This part is the one that gives me the most hand cramps. And if you get stuck, a pair of pliers helps. So I'm gonna pull through, but not all the way. I'm gonna leave about 3 inches maybe of my thread right at the end. So that way it looks like this. I have my tail here. I have my bead up here. I don't know, it's very tiny, so you can't really see it. You want to go in, hold on to that tail, press it against the top part of your sealskin and leather, and then you're gonna go through that bead. So, and we are going to be brick stitching for this part of the sealskin. And if you're not comfortable using a wingspan of thread, It just means that whenever you finish this part up here, and that's about an arm length when you're beading. And then this part and this part here is going to be stitched together with no beads, as well as this part here. And this part here is going to have beads. But our first round is 1 thread.
Does it have to be Delica beads?
You can use seed beads. I'm using Delica because that's what I have right now. And I find Delicas tend to sit straighter on than seed beads, but you definitely can.
And how many rows are you doing?
I'm doing 3 rows of brick stitch, and I'm following a pattern like my first row because I'm doing triangles. I'm doing triangles. It's 1 black, 3 red, 1 black, 3 red for the first row. And then it's 2, 2 of each. And then the top row is 1 red, 3 black, 1 red, 3 black.
And are you using a beading needle or
I'm using a beading needle for this process because my Glover needles are too thick for beads. It won't be able to go through. I'll be able to poke at them, but it won't go through at all.
I don't have Fireline. This is all I have, so I can't see where my camera is. So should I double this?
If it's regular like sewing
It's
thread,
9 beading thread. It is beading thread.
if it's beading thread, it's fine if you only use if you don't double it at all.
Really?
Yeah, because beading thread is typically fairly strong.
Yeah.
And it won't snap.
What size beading needle are you using?
This I believe is a size 12.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you got. So I have my first bead in, I've gone through, and my tail I really want to keep towards my sealskin. And I have my first black one in, so I'm gonna do my 3 red ones. And when you're brick stitching, you want to leave enough space in between your beads that it sits comfortably and doesn't push up against the next one, the next bead. And you don't want it to be too spaced out that there is a gap in between your beads. So let me try to get this one in so I can show you. Okay, I'm in. As you can see, my black bead is floating a little, but that's fine. You just gotta pull on your tail and your other bead. So you want about that much, about like 3 millimeters off from your last bead, from your first one. Trying to show you. But it's a little hard with this camera. Let me pull through. And when you're pulling through, you don't want to accidentally go into your thread. So there's going to be a gap. Okay, let me see if I can show you this. Ooh, can you focus? Can't really. Oh, maybe like that. I have my black bead and my red bead right beside it. My tail is stuck in the in between this bead and this one. And this is how you save yourself from having knots show up while you're beading. And usually, typically the first one, I go until I can't see my tail anymore. After this row, it's much, much easier to bead. And when you're stitching, when you pull your thread and you want your beads to sit properly, you don't stitch it in from the top up here. You want to stitch it from the bottom, so from here. So that way, you go in like that. Oop. Pull through. And then it sits up straight. Oh, that's a giant wasp. I'm sitting right in front of my living room window. And I just saw the biggest wasp I've seen in a while. So.
Hope it's not a hornet.
It's a murder hornet.
Oh God.
Oh no.
No, we don't want those here. I am not ready. I am not prepared for the invasion.
So is anybody else at the point of beading, or is everyone beading?
No, I'm still doing my first one.
I made a really bad mistake of cutting half my pattern out on ring seal and cutting half the pattern out on harp seal. It didn't look nice.
Oops.
Yep, oops. I was focusing on the colors, not the textures.
You can see my thread. When I connected them, you can see it.
Me
So I'm just going to
too.
pretend like I don't see it.
Well, what happens is, it means that some of your sealskin has ended up in between the stitches. So all you want to do is take it and bend it out a little. And you'll start seeing little hairs come up. And that's going to help you cover up your stitches.
Yeah, take your needle and pull the hairs out of the stitches.
Or do that too.
That's how I take the needle and just go under whatever hair stuck underneath and pull them out. Because I am not good at keeping them out of the way.
From Ross to everyone, do you make a knot? No, I don't make a knot. When beading, if that's what your question is, I leave a tail. Because I'm gonna basically stitch around it so that it stays under and it gets stuck and it won't come out. And I leave enough of it that I'm able to go around at least halfway and it stays.
Do you pick up the bead first and then put the thread through? Or do you put the thread through first and then pick up the bead?
I like, for brick stitches, you pick up a bead and then you
Okay.
go through. And when you go through, you want to go in the bottom of the B you just put through and pull up. So as you can see, my tail is currently loose. There's no knot.
I'm still on my first bead. I forget what you do after that.
Okay, when you do your first bead, you're gonna go through, pick up your bead, go through, pull, leave yourself a tail, and then you're gonna go back into that bead from the bottom. So let's say this is my first bead. Let's say this is my first one. Let me try to get, I'm gonna have some really strong arms after this workshop.
You could go be bodybuilder next.
Yes, that's the dream now.
New dream.
New dream. Forget a restaurant, we're bodybuilders. Okay.
So you go through both the leather and the sealskin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's what's gonna seal everything together completely. You won't have any like loose bits or whatever.
What about your color pattern?
My what? My color pattern?
Yeah, your color pattern.
For this one, I'm doing triangle shapes in my work. So right now, my first row is 1 black, 3 red, and that's what I repeat. So 1 black, 3 red, 1 black, 3 red, all the way around until I get to this
You
end.
might want to.
Is that just like only the first part of the stitch all the way around, like 1 black, 3 red, 1 black, 3 red?
Yeah, that's for the entire top part of the earring. And then once you're at your last black one here, you're actually not going to go back up. You're going to continue going around with your first thread. Because you want to come to this part here to start that pattern again on the point. And then you stop it at this corner and then stitch the 2 pieces together until you get to this end. And then here's where I make my first knot, if you will, because I then tie up my first thread to this part, to the first line of beads. And I cut off my thread and I start doing the rest of my beaded pattern. So that the first go around is 1 thread, and then I have 1 piece of thread doing the top 2 rows up here, and I have 1 piece of thread doing the top 2 rows here. So you want to follow the colors you have. So if it's purple and green, then it's 1 purple, 2 green, 3 green, or it's 1 green and 3 purple. And that continues all the way around. Once you tie everything off, it's 2 black, 2 red, 2 black, 2 red, 2 black, 2 red, and that's your second row. Let me just finish this part first, and we'll get to that one. Where am I? I'm at red.
Excuse me. Can't thread my needle.
Unfortunately, I don't have tips and tricks for that.
You just wet the tip of your thread. Just wet it at the tip of your thread and then focus on putting it through the needle hole.
I got these in a shop in Ottawa. Where are they? They're hard to see, but the whole middle comes apart. And they're pointy on each end.
Yeah.
That end, pointy on that end. So it's hard, like you can't push it against your hand because you'll stab yourself, but they're way easier for threading. They tangle a little bit, and it sort of pinches. And you don't worry about the eye being too big for really small beads. But I got them on, it's a beading shop in Ottawa, but you probably can find them online. I don't have the packaging anymore, but if you can find them, they're well worth getting, especially if you have a hard time beading.
I think I have some like that. Let me just.
My glasses make me go cross-eyed trying to bead.
Sometimes when you snip your thread on an angle, it helps push the thread through the small hole. Just a tip.
I have these guys, which are the ones you're talking about, I believe. These are called Big Eye Beading Needles. These are from Beadalon. And the ones I have are 4.5 inches long. So. How do you see? How do I show you?
Do you use them?
Yeah, these ones I use for fringe earrings usually because they're nice and long. They're very long. They're the size of, I'd say, from the bottom of my palm to like about the middle of my middle finger. They're very long. So these I find are perfect for fringe
Your
earrings.
camera is sort of at the top.
These are, they're very long. But it has a big eye.
Mine are not quite that long. Mine are probably 2/3 that length.
Like, as you can see, I am able to fit my finger into the eye. That's how big the eye is. It's basically the whole needle. But yeah, these are Beadalon. Beadalon? I think that's how you pronounce it. And it comes in a pack of 4. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I have an entire little kit filled with things that for earrings.
Can you hold the package of the Beadalong needles up just so I can see them?
Yes.
Just so I can find them again because I threw my package away.
Mama, how did you do this? I think you can see it. There we go. And I know
Thank you.
Recording, we're going to be, I'm pretty sure we're sending it out to everyone that has participated in the workshop so that you're able to, if you're not able to finish by 7, then guess what? You're still able to see what's happening. But yeah.
Yep. We've just got to edit it a bit, but then it'll be shared.
So yeah, I hope you guys can use it to finish your earrings and then maybe take pictures and share them with us.
Yeah. Like I currently have, like, I've explained how to go around, but when you go in to put in your earring hook, this one you have to open with pliers. This is the one of the ones you open with pliers. And typically I use one to hold on and one to open that, the little round end where you put in your earrings. And to orient it, I hold it like this so that where the part of the earring that goes into your ear is facing up and the back of the earring is facing upwards, and then I slide it in. But if you're using a kidney hook, like this one was a kidney hook, you thread it in at the top where your ear goes, where it goes in your ear. So what happens is, I'm going to use the same earring. You want to get in between two beads if you can. You cannot, that's fine. You just have to find a way to get it in. So.
Alexa, move your head down a bit. There we go.
Sorry.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you.
So I've made it into in between two beads. I'm just going to push through until I get to where I want. Oh, I put it on backwards, which is why I like kidney hooks, but they're a little hard to work with for me sometimes. So right now I have it on backwards, and you just have to slide it off. And go the opposite way of how you got in. So I went in this way towards the fur because I thought that was how it's supposed to go in, but it isn't. So I have to go in from the back right here and pull it through so it ends up where it's supposed to, like this.
Okay, so now I'm here. Do I just repeat the process and go back?
Nope, you're going to continue going around. So what you're going to do is, with 0 beads, with no beads at all, you are going to stitch around this top part of the tulip to join together your leather and your sealskin, or whatever backing you have, until you get to the middle part.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey. Where did it go? So small.
Would you be able to?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize I'm not on mute. I'm talking to my little beads. They're so tiny.
Can you give me the first pattern again, please? Sorry.
What do you want to see?
Just the first layer of beads. What's the pattern?
Ooh. So
1 black,
3 red. That's what I did for the first row. It's 1 3 1 3 1 3 the whole way.
Oh man, I just did 1 2.
That's okay. That means that you can do this look with 2 rows instead of 3.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, no turning back.
There's no such things as mistakes when you're beading, just happy accidents, like Bob Ross likes to say.
Happy little accidents, yes.
Yes.
Ouch.
I'm gonna try to finish this as fast as possible so I can catch up with the others. But I'm someone I am definitely someone that takes their sweet, sweet time making a pair of earrings. I get pretty easily distracted, or I want coffee, or I want to go and Osec, even though that's not good for my health. I like being able to, it's always good to take a break when you're beading. It's a way to keep your hands in good condition.
Yeah, how do you deal with when you get cramps?
Whenever I get cramps, I usually stop what I'm doing and stretch my hands out the opposite way of the cramp. And usually my hands are cramping because it's not flexing. It's it's really hard. It's like
yeah.
It gets really uncomfortable. So the best way to like fix that cramp is to like stretch your hands out. So you want to like pull on your fingers a little, give your hands a break, and then pull. You want to stretch them out completely. So stretch like this, and it's going to pull here. It's going to stretch them out completely, and that's where most of your cramps are, right here in the palm of your hand. So a good stretch really helps. Ooh, Ross is about to lose battery. But yes, if you're able to get to a plug real fast, that would be great, so we can continue having you here with us. But if not, that's okay. We'll send you a recording, or Tia will send you a recording. Le page. Yes.